My name is Forrest Valkai, and I'm going to be your host for today's panel. And today I'm joined by 4 incredible guests. I've got Evan and Katelyn right over here.
Hi!
And then I've got Safiya Nygaard and Tyler Williams right over here. I'm the other one that you did not come here to see, but I've got a million questions for these guys that I want to ask them because the content that they make is really incredible. They make some really, really cool stuff, and I want to know a little bit more about what they make and why they make it and how they make it, and I'm sure that you do too. So we're going to start with just a few questions just to get to know them, and then I would love, if we have time, to take up a couple of questions from you guys as well. Before I do any of that, I would love for all of you to please introduce yourselves as well. So who would like to kind of start us off?
And say what?
Just who you are and what you do. Let them know who they're here to see.
Who are you?
You guys go first.
Yeah, you guys go
Okay.
first.
I don't want to get too philosophical, so I'll stick with the basics.
Sure.
We're Evan and Katelyn. We make DIY content on YouTube that has turned weirder and weirder over the years.
Yes. Also, we're married.
Yeah.
Aww. Okay. We're Safiya and Tyler.
Yes.
We run a few different channels.
Yes.
They cover a variety of topics.
Yeah?
Like there's, weird shopping experiences.
Right.
Mixing weird things.
Yes.
Going weird places.
Yeah.
We make weird food.
We do.
Yeah. That's most of it.
I love that. I
Great.
love that. So the one word that I heard a lot from was weirdness, trying to look for something new and strange and exciting. One thing that I notice about a lot of your content is that it's curiosity themed. You're either trying new things or you're building new things, you're exploring new things. That kind of curiosity content, it can be really unpredictable. So my question to you to start with is, when you're making your videos, do you set out with the story in mind, or do you try to let the video tell its own story? Do you wait until after filming to figure out what you're going to do? Like, how does that process work?
We usually have, a starting point and an end goal, and whatever happens in the middle is just going to happen. For us, I think we've kind of embraced the chaos and the unknowns of doing something for the first time or experimenting, so that the unknown of it can just be part of the story and kind of it can just come together as it happens, and we don't have to try to structure it too much.
And once it's all done, the unknown, unexpected parts are usually our favorites.
Yeah.
In the moment, not always the case.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we are definitely trying to structure our videos more before we film them.
Yeah.
To a point, right? Because obviously, when you're trying to make something or do something, and at least I think in both of our formats, we're trying to show you a thing that exists or we've seen on the internet and try to do it as real people, right?
Yes.
So the trials and tribulations are part of it. Hey, it
Yes.
seemed really easy in that 5-minute crafts video, but
Yes.
actually it took 5 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important, and so that's where that leaving in those pitfalls comes in. So you can't structure that. Yeah, because I mean, ideally nothing would go wrong, but then at the same time there'd be no conflict,
Yeah.
But we do we definitely approach it with what we think the question of the video is and what we want the end product to be, and then things happen in between that you might not show every mess up, but if you keep messing up, you got to show it, because that's part of what it is like to make that thing.
Well, there's this one experience a couple years ago. We were trying to do a soap art tutorial.
Oh, yeah.
And we needed distilled water. We didn't have distilled water. We completely messed it up. We had to order a whole new pack. We lost 3 weeks in production, right? So there's a healthy level of this is the moment. This is the genuine first person reaction. You want to have that, but you also don't want to lose weeks and weeks and days and hours and hours and hours. You want to do some prototyping, some vision, some conversing about how we're going to approach this. When we do our franken videos, we want to have some approach.
Yes.
Otherwise, then you start to in the moment, you can maybe be more stressed or more panicked than you need to be, and you're not enjoying the process. You're more thinking about the logistics on the fly, and then that's not as fun either. So the pitfalls that are organic are always great though, and we always try to make sure we include those, because I think that's part of the fun. But I think that we do want to have some preparation, so it's not only a mad dash, and then you kind of lose yourself in the moment, and that's less good.
Yeah, it's a healthy dose or a healthy midpoint between being prepared and not scripting. You know what I mean? You don't want to script everything, but you also don't want to be so unprepared that it's just a disaster.
You're preparing to be unprepared.
Exactly.
Got it.
And the only way to figure out the balance is to do it and improve over time.
I would do wonder, because Tyler's story is excellent. I wonder if anybody else has one of like one video that went particularly haywire, that was really, really difficult to film and just kept giving you curveball after curveball. Do you have any of those that stand out in your minds?
We tried to make clear wood once, which was a bit out of our wheelhouse. It was very chemistry heavy. And it was one of those things where, you read some instructions and logically it should all work out, and then it doesn't work. And then you have to iterate, and it doesn't work. And you have to iterate, and it doesn't work. And every round of this takes like 2 days. And so we got to a point eventually where it just had to be good enough clear wood. Like, how clear does it need to be really be clear wood?
You can put clear wood in quotations, then it can,
Yeah, like if we put a light behind it, like our phone light, it was clear-ish. So, but yeah, sometimes it just kind of does start snowballing and get out of control.
That's excellent. One thing that I'm an overall theme that I'm hearing in all this is authenticity, is like trying to actually put the process online. And I think that's one of the biggest things about YouTube. That's one of the things that makes it so successful, is that authenticity. You're not having to put on a face. You're just being yourself, and that's what people want us to come see. So how do you make sure when you're doing something, whenever you're making a franken video or you're trying some new crazy thing, how are you making sure that you're injecting your personality into it? And how are you making sure that you don't come across maybe as like forced? You're trying to be extra yourself on camera. How do you maintain authenticity while you're creating videos?
I think a big part is like we choose videos based on what we're the most excited about. And so if it's something that we're super excited about, then we know that our reaction is going to be really authentic. And I think that's also one of the reasons we often will try to add something different or new in every single video. So there's always something new we are doing for the first time, because it's a lot easier to be excited about something the first time you've done it rather than the 20th time you've done it. And we also end up kind of structuring our videos in a way where the stuff that is a bit more repetitive that we do a lot, that's just going to get like montaged through in a few seconds. And we'll have more camera time and just kind of like film an entire session of us reacting to whatever the new part is or the exciting part is.
Yeah. Well, and also we think like if we were retired and we didn't need to work, what would we do? We envision that, and then we're like, okay, how can we do that as our projects and as our work? And then that just naturally carries through into the videos.
Totally. It's interesting when you brought up the franken videos, because the franken videos are kind of, it's a series of videos that like kind of grew out of like this weird burning desire that I had to like destroy lipsticks, right? But it's like a whole series. Right now we've done like different things. We've done foods. We've done other cosmetics. We've done bath products. Like we've done a lot of stuff. Yeah. And the franken videos are hard because sometimes for certain things we want to franken, there's no method to do it, right? Specifically lip glosses, it was like incredibly difficult to remove viscous lip glosses from tubes. We had a couple of our team members trying like 85 different ways to like get lip glosses, because some of them are runny, some of them are or some of them are flexible tubes you can cut the back off, and some of them are just impossible. So it's like it's a balance between having a good method and a good approach to it, actually doing it, because it takes like hours and hours and hours. Like when we did like the eyeshadows, we had like, I don't know, like, or every beauty guru's eyeshadow palette.
Yeah.
We probably pulled like 3 all-nighters in a row. Like literally, Tyler was on the couch. Had Gilmore Girls playing in the background, and I was just scraping eyeshadows. Just scraping eyeshadows.
No, actually, the candle video was legitimately 4 all-nighters in a row.
Yeah, it was it was 4 nights of, it was literally
and our entire
4
office
nights
just
of
reeked of Bath and Body Works.
Scooping candles. But then you also have to think of, okay, I have a method, I have to actually do the experiment, and then I also have to make a video about it. So then you're like, what should I say in this video? Like, what's the interesting thing? So obviously for candles, we were smelling them. For lipsticks, we've done a bunch different things, because usually there's like 100 of them, there's like 500 of them.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, well, here, this color is nice, and this color is nice, and this color is nice. So it's more about like, the pinks are softer. Well, or like you have to like both think about doing the experiment and also like what you're gonna want to say for the edit. Like what's interesting about this?
Well, for gloss, actually, it came really, to your point, it was all organic, right? It all happened naturally. It was physical exertion. right? It was the fact that I was exhausted, and I was using my stomach as like a board to push the glosses out of like a syringe, right? So then it was like just physically taxing, and then I was like bruising my stomach, right?
Yeah, so
And
one of the bits in the video is obviously Tyler's like quivering, he's like exerting himself.
I had like
so
muscle
much.
failure, yeah. So it was like, hey, that was funny.
Yeah.
But it's also so. I think that the term we always use is like first person, right? Like we want the videos to be first person because you can like watch like any like thirst trap content anywhere of like really cool locations, or you can watch like it of like something that's being done really really well, or like filmed really uniquely. But like in terms of like what we can provide, and at least from our perspective, is our personality, or it's like our experience, our angle, our investigative approach to it. So I think it's like having that first person approach to it, I think is one of the values of internet content, right, is that you get to go there and have people try things for the first time, and that they can, finance it and they can produce it themselves. So we try to like make sure that we, we always leave room for like, there's going to be structure lines that are going to be a little bit more planned, a little more scripted. Like, hey guys, we're here. This is what we're doing. You want to have those as backbone so you can produce the video and edit it later. But then you also want to make sure you have that first person thing, because like that's what I think is really fun, and that you can have like the little improvisational moments. Like it's just us. The two of us just having fun and just like kind of going back and forth, and like kind of like, how do you feel about that? Like so I think first person's always the term. You want to maintain that because that's what gives it its like personal flair.
But I'm sure that Evan and Katelyn have experienced this as well. Like for the Franken series, when the first time we like chopped a lipstick, I was like, this feels sacrilegious. This is crazy. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I'm just like casual. Like it's just like pedestrian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are certain things that if like we continued to play that angle up, it wouldn't be authentic. You know what I mean? So it's like when you make like a velvet toilet seat, you're like, I've kind of done something like this before, so it's not as crazy to me as it might be to you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard because you'll have a video be super successful, and the audience reaction is, okay, now velvet this, now velvet that, now velvet that. But it's like, we can't just keep doing that, because then it's going to become super forced, So it's like, well, what else can we do that's kind of weird? Do we do like, make something out of static grass instead of velvet? Do we like, I don't know, do we make a leather toilet seat instead of a velvet toilet seat?
We have a whole
genre of toilet seat ideas now.
They just have a lot of bathrooms in their house.
Keep an eye on their
put in
channels. Wait
your
for the
order
leather
for a
toilet
custom
seat video
one.
to come out. You know where it started. That's great.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a good like sort of North Star for like trying to think of new things. Like you want to keep it fresh. Like that's fun, right? Having like an authentic reaction. You always hear like the memes of like people who do like the same thing over and over again. It just gets kind of stale, and then you're like forcing yourself to do it, right? So if you're always trying new stuff, I mean, first off, I think that people like seeing people try new things. I think series are really healthy, right? Like toilet seat series, right? But like again, like velvet toilet seat one time, and then you can do the leather one. Yeah, right. Yeah. So it makes perfect sense. So I think that like having, it's a good like sort of like I think encouragement organically to try the new thing, right? Because then you can have that authentic experience. And also, if you're following inkling of like what's interesting, then it's like, hey, that's new still, and I want to do that thing. And there's a lot of stuff that's out there in the world to try. So it's like not like you're going to really fastly run out of ideas. It's like, it's not that hard to iterate because there's a lot of just sort of creative juice everywhere. So you're like, oh, yeah, let's try this, and you can then, iterate, or you can have like your own perspective on different things. Yeah,
and the more you allow yourself to kind of follow that curiosity and not just be so concerned on like, well, what is going to perform the best, the more you do try new things, and then you'll learn a new skill, and then you're like, oh, I can combine that in a new way. Like we learned how to do stained glass recently, and now we're like, do we build a computer out of stained glass? Like, what can we do out of stained glass that we wouldn't have done if we didn't like pursue this new thing that wasn't even, it didn't exist on our channel before, so we didn't know how it would do. So I think it's cool that like you can kind of iterate on yourself if you keep an open mind in terms of like where your channel's going to go,
That all makes sense, and that was actually what you were just talking about there was going to be my next question is, when do you know it's time to switch things up? How do you avoid getting painted into a corner, get boxed in one place? Because, like, as you've just said, it's really, really easy to do something and have your audience want more of that one thing, and then you get caught in that one thing. My next question then, instead of just that, would be, how do you push yourselves out of your own comfort zones? How do you push your own boundaries? How do you, kind of explore the limits of your own minds and your own creativities? Is there a process for that?
Yeah.
I can see the wind up
Yeah.
from him. That's
Usually I just go over to Katelyn and I'm like, hey, so I ordered this thing.
That is often how it goes. Yeah, oftentimes Evan will just come up with something, and then we'll figure out a way to turn it into a video. Yeah. Sorry.
What was the original question?
the general vibe is how important is it to you as a creator to
Yeah.
push your own boundaries, and how do you go about doing that?
I think for us, we very much, even from the beginning, because we started YouTube at a point where like people were already doing it as a career, and we saw other people kind of get trapped in a niche, and we didn't want that. So like to the detriment of our own channel, for a while we were for a brief period we were known as the CNC channel because we had a CNC machine and not a ton of other channels did at the time, and so we very purposely were fought against that because we knew that we wanted to branch out not only with our types of projects but also with different types of channels. Like we started a gaming channel. We put a bunch of time into that. It is just a hobby basically. Like it makes a little bit, but the better financial decision would be put all of our efforts into the main channel. But we try to look at it from a very long-term perspective, and we know if we want to not get burned out, we have to keep things fun and interesting, and we have to, follow the stuff that we really want to do. And so maybe even more than we should, we will fight against being too niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I think that's what we do too. I think that obviously our content is kind of I don't want to say it's random because I think that we do approach it from a specific viewpoint, but we definitely have very different series that we cycle through that have actually nothing to do with the topics of this panel. You know what I mean? We do totally other different things. And I agree that there is that urge or that moment where if you have a really popular video, just lean into that. People want to see more of that, do more of that. And I think that is also very successful nowadays on short form. Specific TikTok creators are known for oh, that's the train guy, or that's that guy, And so,
and we actually did that. We had that happen to us with short form a little bit when we were doing this one emoji lipstick series, and it was I think people liked it, and so we did a lot of them, and we'll do more of them. But it was kind of one of those things where it's could we explore other things, because it'd be fun to see if we could have multiple series that are exciting, but with something like short form content, and it's so reaction oriented, it's almost you're framing the color of your camera, the background, it becomes very that's your thumbnail, and that's your name, that's your title, and everything like that.
Yeah, I think that for our perspective is that if you lean too far into it, you can become branded as only that thing. So then if you ever later try to get out of it, it'll be very difficult. But also if that one thing then loses steam, then you have lost steam. You know what I mean? So we find it, we probably also over change up what we do.
I would also say in terms of putting yourself into uncomfortable situations, I think that we at this point, because we've been doing it for a couple years, but we benefit from taking putting ourselves in very uncomfortable situations. We've done a lot of really extreme travel videos, and they've actually to this point it made me very comfortable filming and producing videos in very strange circumstances and environments. Yeah. I think that our original series was one of our series when we went to East Asia was very on a whim. We planned it and produced it in a couple weeks, and we went, and it was maybe a little underproduced in the sense of planning and preparation, and it was very tiring, but it was very exhilarating, and you learn a lot about yourself and what you're going to do in that environment. And then so recently we did this video in Vegas, and it was really, really tough and really exhausting and really crazy. But it was fun because it was kind of something I felt very comfortable doing. It's we're walking around the Vegas floor dodging pit bosses who don't want you to film there, and you kind of have to play it cool and stuff like that. But one of the things I think that's also really easy, at least for me, and this is an angle where I feel very lucky, is that I would say the Vegas trip was very time consuming, very exhausting, very hot, and it was the best trip of my life. Right, so it's kind of it was a really fun trip, and that also invites the willingness to do the really crazy thing. Well, it was really fun, though. Can you really complain? It's a great trip. It might have been hard, but it was fun.
I think that we change things up in order to avoid creative burnout, which I find is different than exertion burnout. I'm literally tired because I've been working a lot is different than I'm out of creative juice. It's not the same thing. And also, so to limit the idea of for example, if it's our Franken series is super popular, or I don't want to say that, sounds conceited. Our Franken series is one of our most popular series. That sounds better. Our Franken series is one of our more popular series. But if we had only done that, like, would we have run out of ideas? You know?
And it would then also be like unfun. You know, like we try to reserve it for things that we think are uniquely weird. Like when we did the candle one, it was because we were walking through like a mall and like just Bath and Body Works emanates this stench like everywhere, and you're like, okay, I'm interested by the smell that's constantly emanating from Bath and Body Works, you know?
Yeah, it's better to be hit by the Franken than
Right.
pursue the Franken.
Right, exactly. So I think it's like, you know, I think that it's about like sort of also following inklings, you know, like some like if because we were walking through the mall and we had other videos we were editing, and I was like, dude, we should just melt these together. Like, we should just do this. This sounds way more fun right now. And so then the willingness to also just to jump into something, which is how the original Sephora one was, and definitely Vegas. Because we were like, dude, I just got to get to Vegas, and why don't we just go stay at every hotel? Because that sounds crazy, you know, and so that's why we did it.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing that Tyler said. Pursue the fun. Like, that's the best. That's like a good guiding light. Because, like, we got in this to spend time together and have fun, and we got to, like, keep hold of that. And if you keep that in mind, then, you know.
Yeah, then even when it's like crazy or difficult or hard, you're like, well, I'm doing the thing that's fun still, and I'm still having fun. So, like, I can deal with the hard parts, you know.
Yeah, it makes the other stuff more tolerable for sure.
Yeah.
I love that, and that's that. You know, everything you guys have said right now is something that I hear, especially from a lot of new creators all the time. Is like, I have to do it this way. I've done it this way this whole time, and if I do anything else, it won't be as good. And like, it's better though if you change it up a little bit. Do you find like when you talked about being guided by the fun, but you also have this business mind behind it? If you could, in a really bizarre set of circumstances, quantify your entire creative energy, how much of it is that business mentality and like thinking about, okay, what's going to be a good video, what's going to get good views, what's going to be able to like roll really well, versus just that childlike, I want to try this thing right now, I want to do this thing today. Like you said, just walking by some candles, like, I want to melt these and see what happens. How much of that is part of the process versus actually sitting down and really planning something out?
Well, I think that the business components will follow sort of the creative excitement, you know? So I think that it's kind of one of those things where like, I think that you almost try, at least for us, I know there might be other people who do it differently, but I don't really think a lot about the business component when it comes to like the videos we're producing. I think that our North Star has always been usually what Safiya or I, but a lot of times what Safiya finds exciting or interesting, pursue that, and let's try to make, I think it's probably, think of a great video, or a video you think could be really fun, a topic that has some juice. Like, so, for instance, like with candles, we're talking about candles a lot, but I think it's a fun video. Or bath bombs, right? You can talk about the way the bath bomb smells, and it's really fun when you smash them, right? So it's kind of like, okay, there's some content there. Okay, and then like, let's follow. I'm interested in this. There's some things we can riff on, play off of, make some jokes. Is it going to be a good video? It's sort of like, what's the depth of the frame, or something that's like just sort of fun to make. And I think that's the stronger North Star, is if the video's good, things tend to follow from there. As if you have the ability to inject perspective, voice, maybe an investigative angle, you know, some of the trial tribulation stuff, some interesting footage, cool angles, you know, good B-roll, and then you're good, right? And I think that's kind of what the digital business is, right? It's trying to make stuff that is entertaining and fun. So if it's a good video, that's going to usually drive the business, which I think is the cool part about digital, is that fun content usually begets the business. So I think that maybe there are people who pursue it with business first and try to optimize the financial component, but they'd be much more equipped to talk about how they do that well, because we don't.
No, I agree. I think that there's definitely some part of our creative decision making is driven by like battle testing the idea. You know, like, okay, we have this cool idea. Well, like, you know, like how much is there? You know what I mean? Like, oh, we want to, like, there are some Frankens that we haven't done because like the visuals just aren't that diverse. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, this thing, they're all kind of look the same. So even if they smell different, like only I can smell, you know, like candles are helped because they're wax and they scoop and they're different colors. You know, it's like there's some.
And they have dumb names.
Yeah, they have names. Yeah, exactly. So there are like some things that we might be interested in that then we decide not to do because we don't think there's enough there. But we rarely make videos like start from a place of I'm not excited by this idea, but we're going to make it. They all start from I'm excited about this idea, battle test it, and then decide if you're going to make it or not.
Well, to amend that, just because I don't want to sound like we always know what it is, I think that
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah.
some value to this panel in the sense of digesting the creative impulse, there are a ton of videos that we started to do maybe because we thought it was going to do well or was a good idea, and then it ended up being thinner than we thought, and then we just went ahead and cut the video because we're like, it's actually not that good, and that would not be fun for people to just watch something that we're not excited about. And we have posted here and there over the course of years and years and years some videos we're not as excited about, and they suck to edit. They're not as fun to publish. They're not as fun to produce, and I think that's so we've tried to use that as one of our guiding things, as guiding lights, is to be that's not the angle, and when something like creator burnout is in the ether and people talk about it a lot, that will burn you out if you work on things you don't like.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of trying to quantify how much goes towards the creative angle versus the business angle, to us, we actually really like playing the business game too. And so
in terms
you can,
of to translate that, in terms of what's going to be a good thumbnail, what video, can we think of a good thumbnail and title before we even make the video? That is more of the business side, but it's also kind of a game in a way.
Yeah.
And there are some creators we talk to who also make things who really dislike that part, and they struggle with it, and they're like, man, if I could just make the thing I want to make and not film it, I would enjoy it so much more. But for us, the filming of it and getting
sharing,
that super cool thumbnail and sharing it and getting the comment feedback and all that is in some ways just as fun as the actual making of the thing.
Yeah, because we're making the thing, but we're also making a video, and oftentimes I am proud of the thing, but I'm also more proud we made a video, So
yeah.
That's smart though. I've obviously seen a lot of your guys' thumbnails, and they're really fun.
Yeah.
They're really cool. I think that is a part of the creative, is what is the thumbnail? I know there's always these conversations about thumbnail optimization, but I think that, and obviously it's part of the slate because you have to try to market the video and the suggestions are on the side or on the homepage and stuff, but I think that being really deliberate and thinking that through is smart, and I think that does not taint the experience or the creative.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things where it's we find titles and thumbnails hard sometimes, definitely. Yeah, we're wait, we made the video, and now we have to make the thumbnail, which is not the right approach. But it is that thing where it's we made this thing we really like, now you have to show people why it's good. It's good, I promise, So that's, I don't know, we find
that's
that
the biggest
difficult
impulse with thumbnails. We're I promise you the video.
I promise you the video's
we
good.
think it's funny. Yeah, we think it's good, so we got to make this better or good. Yeah,
You got to give it its best shot.
Best shot is the way to put
just
it.
for your text, just say, I promise it's good.
You were describing my life right now. That is 80% of my YouTube career is oh crap, I have to put this online. I just had so much fun making it. I forgot I had to put it out there. Yeah, no, it makes so much sense. Everything that you're describing, it for me, it reminds me of prospecting. You know what I mean? You have to have that impulse, that intuition to know where to look, and then start scratching, and maybe you'll find some gold, and maybe you'll find a gold mine. And so my next question is how often do you find that the video that you did not expect to take off is your most popular video, and the video that you put everything into and really wanted to be your big $3 million view hit is just kind of just another one? How does that happen for you? Because I've yet to meet a creator who hasn't said my most viewed video is the one that I never ever in a million years would have expected anybody would have watched.
I think when it comes, you go.
I think a lot of our top videos we expected to be our top videos, but a lot of our mid videos we expected to be our top videos, and a lot of our low videos we expected to be our top videos.
Maybe we're too optimistic. But yeah, I would say on the two extreme ends of the really well-performing ones and the really not as good, we're probably more accurate at guessing those. But yeah, the middles, we are usually off.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, somebody at our meet and greet today was saying, what's your favorite video that you produce? And one of the ones that's our favorite, we talk about a lot, is we went to this spa theme park in Japan a couple years ago, and we didn't think anyone was gonna. Well, we didn't know what anyone was gonna think about it. So we had no expectations, and actually by the way we were tracking the metrics in the video for the first day, it didn't do particularly well. So we're okay, I guess, hey, I'm really happy we made it, but whatever. And the video has grown really well over the years, and people really like the video. It's really fun, though. There's a, wine jacuzzi, and there's a hot coffee jacuzzi. It's a really fun video, and it's actually enabled us to try a lot of travel content. So I would say that's one of the ones that was it was kind of unexpected, And I'm really happy that people liked it because then we get to do a lot of really cool travel videos.
Yeah.
But like, I guess it was also in an era where like we really try to do different stuff as much as we can. So we're willing to take some lumps of like trying different things so that way you learn, like what people either like or dislike. You learn about like what you find interesting as a creator too. So, I mean, I don't know. I try not to guess too much. I think it's very difficult. You don't want to like set up your expectations and feel let down. You just kind of just got to like roll with it and keep trying to do what you think is interesting.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is like, I would imagine for you guys it's pretty similar, but our videos have a long life. They're not just after the first 30 days they die. They keep going, and sometimes it'll surprise you. Like it might not do well in the moment, but then long term, it's one of your top performers. So
hey, look at you! You're doing great.
Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh! And so even when something performs bad, we're like, well, maybe it'll be a good long term one. We'll just check back in 2 years.
Yeah. There is a difference between like sometimes the videos that hit with your like notif squad or the people who will watch the video immediately.
Yeah.
And or the ones that will then get like a little bit, there's some suggested content around it. So long term, they like gradually grab those suggested views, Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not always the same thing.
Well, I think that's one of experience-wise, one of the really great things about doing YouTube in particular, because it's like a VOD-driven product, right? Mm-hmm. So like you have a portfolio of videos that are there, and so if you like make things that you like, and then your channel has like a bunch of videos that you like and you're proud of and stuff like that, then over time that works for you.
Yes.
In the sense people can watch those videos and they can have things they go back to and watch, and like that's great. Is to have sort of a portfolio, and then you can be proud of that. And so that's versus I think sometimes with short form stuff, at least it feels like if you don't have something hit right away and it gets caught in the algorithm, it's kind of like no shot anyone's ever going to see it. And that's a frustrating platform where if you make something you think is like really fun, this is clever, like someone's going to really like this, and like doesn't hit, you're like, well, no one's going to see that. So okay, great. It took a minute, or it was only a minute, but I think that's one of the best things about YouTube is you can kind of just be like, hey, maybe that will show up in someone's feed later, and then they'll think that's cool, and then it'll become an underrated video, and then maybe it'll become a overrated video.
There's always hope.
Do you ever look back at any of your older videos and like ones that are really well performing or just something you did years and years ago and you just wish you could go back and change it? Is that a problem, or is that an opportunity that you can maybe go back and revisit an idea? Or is that just something that just sits with you like, if I had done this today, knowing what I know now, I would have tweaked this, that, and the other thing?
We actually did a DIY retry where we're like, hey, we can do better now. And then we did it. And we did better, and the video performed great. So
that was one that surprised us that we didn't think would do like well at all, and it did pretty good.
Yeah, so we have had that feeling, and then we did it anyways.
Right on.
Yeah.
But the original question was, if you could go back and redo a video, would you?
Yeah, do you ever feel like if you could go back and redo one? Or is that a problem you face at all? Is that an opportunity for you? Is that something you struggle with?
I think that redo a video.
I don't think so.
I don't think there's any video that we would want to go back and completely redo. But there are some things that we definitely learn. We're like, I wouldn't have done that. Or like, so you kind of take it into, because we kind of operate in our minds as like a channel that has different series. So next time you hit a video in that series, you're like, okay, let's change. We learned from the last one. Let's change it up. You know what I mean?
But I do think it's a great idea for like on the DIY front to like try those things again, because like it would be great to get another crack at like a crappy hack or like get another stab at like soap. And so and actually I will say, like when we did our first soap art video, I don't think we did it perfectly. We made a lot of mistakes. In fact, we had that as one of the beats. It's like we messed up. We had to reorder it. Like I said, it cost us 3 weeks. But then we did like another one where we like made a cupcake, and we did like way better on that one. Mm-hmm. So like so that was like I would say like in terms of like retrying, it'd be like sort of having better perspective on the process. But in terms of like, I don't think that like maybe a creative or an editorial decision is like what didn't let it do well here and there. There is a video or two that we have that like did maybe perform less well, and I don't know why it didn't, because I'm like, I thought that was a really cool video. Whatever, maybe the thumb sucks. I don't know. And so that's a different set. Like I don't know if I went back and did it differently, if it would do any better, or So I don't have any of those specific instances.
Well, I think also we are really happy with where we're at, and we don't know if we would end up with where we're at if we changed anything in the past. So we're like, no, we're good. Leave it all the same.
I will say oftentimes at the end of a project, like sometimes we may have put 3 or 4 weeks into something, and it's basically done and we're wrapping up the video, but by that point we've learned so much that like we wish that we could just keep going on it, so I'm
Yeah, there's definitely diminishing returns on like continuing to push a video within one video because we've already done the struggle, and we want to give the win, but we also just want to keep on doing more.
Yeah, like how much more? It wouldn't make that much more content for the end result, but just like I learned how to do something, and I want to do it better now. But yeah, usually we end up resisting. But sometimes we'll end up going back on our second channel and trying something again because. On the second channel, it's a bit more casual. We don't feel as weird being repetitive there. So that's a good outlet for us to kind of like get out that energy where it's like we spent all this time learning something and now we want to try it again. So we can kind of put it there. And
also, all of the supplies in the cabinet bother Katelyn. She causes her stress.
So
but
like
if we're using them regularly, then it's okay.
Yeah, then we can use up all the supplies because we'll buy like for one video we bought 2 pottery wheels and a bunch of clay and tools, and now we just have 2 pottery wheels and a bunch of clay and tools. So
as people do,
maybe we should do
do some
clay.
decluttering content.
Ooh.
Like, I'd be like really interested, like seeing you guys like declutter your gadgets shed because you have like we were like talking about this. Like you guys have so many cool like tools, right? So it'd be like you just like do like have a professional organizer come in and just like recondo it. Which ones bring you joy and not? You know, second clay wheels done.
I'm just imagining hiring a professional organizer and then taking them to the workshop and then being like, what do you want me to do? Yeah, get me out.
Get rid of it all.
Yeah.
We'll hire you, but the only rule is you can't ask questions. Just do the thing. Just don't ask the thing. Yeah. So I am curious. This is completely different question, but like I want to try to get through everything I have because I want to have these guys ask some questions as well. But like the one other thing that I want to know about is the parasocial relationships that you guys have with your fans. Because it can be both really, really inspiring and really, really scary when a complete stranger comes up to you and knows everything about you. So, like, how big of, like, a shock is that? How big of an opportunity is that for you? How big is a threat is that? What does that play into your career? Like, getting to introduce people that already know you so much. Like, what is that like for you as a creator? And how big of an opportunity is that in your career as an online person?
I think that for us, we were talking actually also about the parasocial relationships we have with ourselves. This is going to be a really weird tangent that's nothing about the panel at all.
It's okay. I already changed it so far. You go ahead.
Because we've found, at least me personally, and there's probably some work we need to do on this ourselves, but I have found and we've found you to be so like all-encompassing and demanding that like that's our whole life, you know what I mean? Like this is what we do, and it's great, and it's like you guys get to spend all your time together because you know you work together. Same, like it's probably the only reason, like you know, like it's probably one of the reasons that like we're able to be so involved in YouTube is also because we have each other. You know what I mean? So we're not like literally completely by ourselves, but like we've noticed that like for example we're editing this video that we're hoping to put up tomorrow. It's about a chocolate factory. And there's like 2 people at the chocolate factory who were in the video. And we were editing them and their sound bites and like them hanging out with us and like jokes and stuff. And then we went back to take a few pickup shots. And I was like, hey guys, like as if I'd been hanging out with them for like 2 weeks straight. And they were like, oh, hey. And I was like, we're best friends. Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean? Like, and so I realized that also like, you know, my perception of the things that we've done is like I felt like the entirety of last year we were in Vegas because it took us like 2 months to edit those like you know hour-long videos, and I was like, yeah, we were in Vegas for like months. No, we weren't. It was 2 weeks in July and not in December at all. You know what I mean? So it's interesting because like I think that when I meet like viewers in person, it doesn't feel weird at all because I feel like the YouTube channel, like I feel like I live on there. You know what I mean? Like that's me too, you know? So when someone like when you guys know us through our videos, I'm like, I feel actually a really deep connection there, you know, where it's like, yeah, you guys know, you went with us, we were there, we were all there together, you know? So, I don't know, it's weird because obviously the internet as a whole and even like, you know, comments that are left by people who watch your videos can be mean and harsh. But like the other day, sometimes when we don't usually check our Instagram message requests. No. But whenever we post our cat on our story, we do. Because we want to see people say he's cute.
He's cute.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Whenever we post a cat
crazy.
on the story, we want to see people be like, "Oh my god, I love Cosmo." I'm like, "Yeah, me too." You know what I mean? Like, I really want to see people say that.
Yeah.
But I saw someone who had like messaged about the cat, and they were like, "Oh my god, what a sweet boy!" And then I just like happened. I usually don't do this. I happened to like scroll up, and this person had just been sending us nice messages for like 3 years, and I was like, almost cried. You know, and I was like, "That's so nice."
Yeah.
And they were there with us, and we took them to the place, and they were there, and it's not weird at all. It was really touching, you
Well,
know.
and
So
just-
I think that as much as there's a parasocial relationship, to me, it's real. Does that
And
make
it-
sense?
It does. It
and,
does.
And for context, you know, the reason why it's scary to check your DM requests is because, like, you don't want to get blindsided. Like, we're looking at Cosmo responses, and you don't want to get blindsided by, like, a really mean comment because it'll, like, ruin your day, right? And so it's always a risk. And so that's when you see this, you're like, oh, like, I think that sometimes people that leave, like, mean comments spoil the party for the people who leave really nice comments.
Yeah.
And I will say that people who leave really nice comments, it's not... It shouldn't be lost on, like, you know, people who are creators or on other people in, like, life in general that, like, that is really nice. You know, like, I love, like, on, like, videos that are like the rain at night to help you go to sleep. You know, like, those videos are like, oh yeah, the sounds of a Star Destroyer, and you're like sitting like to help you go to bed. And the comments are like so nice. They're like, oh, if anyone sees this comment, I want to let you know, like, you're not alone and you got this. And I'm like, this is the nicest thing I've ever seen. Or like, there's this song from Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong Country, and it's called Sticker Brush Symphony, and it's called the Internet Checkpoint. And people go there and they leave like really long monologues about like things that are going on in their lives. And it's like, and people are really, really nice there. And so it kind of sucks like when like mean stuff, I think, sort of like hurts the relationship between audiences and creators and stuff like that, because I think they spoil the party. But I agree with Safiya that like it's like the parasocial thing, it's like, I think it gets a bad rap. Like every time someone comes up, like we always say the same thing, amongst other things, is like, thanks for watching, because it's like we don't get to do this at all unless people, you know, appreciate the content. And like really that's why we make the videos. We want to make things that we think people will enjoy and be able to take a second or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, or in the case of Vegas, an hour, to like just sit back and relax and enjoy something that we think is fun and lighthearted and easy to watch. And like that's like why we get to do this. So I think that like every time we meet someone, it's like I think it's fun every time. It's like always great. So, you know, I really like it, at least.
Yeah, I didn't mean we don't just check Instagram requests because I don't want to talk to people. It's just because you don't want to like see that one mean thing about that one. You know, like it does.
It is a minefield.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
that,
minefield. Yeah.
Yeah, they say mean stuff about Cosmo.
Yeah, that's
You know,
out of
that's
line.
rough, you know?
That's
Like,
where I
like, you
draw.
know,
Then you
Crosses
have to
the
find
line.
their page and hunt them down and send. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Then you're lost. Yeah, then you're going too far down the. Yeah, but that happens. Yeah, no. So it's a minefield. Yeah.
Well, I think it's energizing for me because we are who we are in person and online, very similar. So when we meet people, we don't feel like we need to put on an act, which is a lot more draining. In fact, I'm probably weirder in my real life, not on camera. But I think we've had great experiences.
Yeah, it's always been really positive interactions. And I also think once we started live streaming, that like took it to a whole different level, because then you're like interacting with people in real time, and oftentimes it's the same people. Like I have a lot of usernames that I recognized, and if like if I run into someone at a conference and they're like, oh, I'm this person, and they say their username, I'm like, I know you. So it's almost like two ways. It's like I kind of have a parasocial relationship with you guys too, especially people that like do comment a lot, or you know, are in the live streams, and or like our patrons were very like on Patreon, we're very like we comment back and forth with them and stuff like that. And so it kind of goes two ways in a way. Yeah. And it's also interesting because, especially being at a place like VidCon, I feel like we have parasocial relationships with other creators. So it's like we just met earlier today and we haven't met before, but I'm like, oh, I know you guys.
Yeah,
but then it kind of goes two ways.
Absolutely.
It's like
totally with other creators. Yeah.
like we will watch your shows with dinner, so we're like, we had dinner with you, right? Right.
Yeah. They went on a Vegas trip and we're like, oh, that sounds fun. Let's go on a Vegas trip. And we went to Vegas, and then we talked about Vegas with them. Like, so, you know, I could see it being different depending on like the type of audience or like the age of audience and things like that. But it's all been positive, honestly.
Yeah, that's so incredibly cool to hear, genuinely, because like I also freaking love meeting fans, and I always thought that I was the weird one for that, because all I ever hear is things about, oh my God, I was accosted by these people. This weird, crazy person left this long, crazy email, all this stuff. So to hear that awesome relationship that you guys have, that gives me hope, and I know it gives a lot of other people out there hope as well. And I think that's an excellent segue, since you guys love your fans so much, to let them ask you some questions as well. So we have a microphone right here in the center, and we have really cool people who help facilitate this for you. If you have a question for any of our panelists today, please come right up here to the front in the center here and let us know. We are looking only for questions for the whole crowd. I know that there's a lot of you out there who want to tell us a little story about what something meant to you or something like that, but we only have a few minutes left, and I want to make sure to get as many people as possible. So please, if you have a question for our 4 panelists, hop right up here, and we'll take our first one right now.
This is so tall.
Yeah, speak out of your forehead and let us hear
Angle it
you.
down. Angle it down. Yeah, there you go.
Ah,
Perfect.
there we go. Okay, how do you deal with loss of motivation? In content and making a video? If in the middle of a video, how do you and you lose motivation, how do you keep it going?
I think one thing that we remember, because usually if we're losing motivation, it's because stuff is going wrong repeatedly. And kind of a mantra we have is when stuff is going wrong, it can be bad for us, but good for the video. And so we'll remind ourselves hey, we can lean into it. This struggle is part of the story. This loss of motivation is part of the story. We can talk about we've been in here doing this repetitive task for 4 hours and we're so done with it. And just kind of being able to acknowledge it and not feeling I have to pretend I'm motivated to do this whole part of the video. I think it kind of gives you permission to acknowledge it and deal with it and then move on from it.
Well, yeah, and we kind of hope that including that shows that these things are a struggle, and if other people try it, you might struggle too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
That's good stuff. When you struggle, it's bad for you but good for the video.
I like that.
Yeah, I feel the other thing I would say is that sometimes I find myself in the middle of something. I'm not doing a good job right now. Whether it's give sound bites or talking or being funny or doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And so that's when you kind of have to have an out of body experience and be okay, you don't think you're doing well right now, but you could do better in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So it's you kind of have to scoop yourself up and be I guess maybe it's just an internal motivation. Be I want to do well in this video. I want to perform well. I want to be funny. I want to have stuff to work with in the edit. I don't want to be watching it back in the edit being oh my God. So it's a kind of moment where it's if you feel yourself going down, you have that you have to find yourself again,
Well, one thing I think is actually really good about VODs and YouTube videos is that, like Saf said, if you do 20 bad minutes and 5 good minutes, you're good. Right, so all you have to do is just kind of find that little moment where you kind of click for a little bit, and this happens a lot with us. When we do something kind of crazy, we got this FedEx truck that we turned into a nail polish truck for Holo Taco, and it's cool. But the whole renovation process was really stressful. And the reveal, I was so nervous that I wasn't gonna get the shot of Christine reacting to the truck. And I'm this is gonna be a disaster, and I can't get that one again because first person stuff. But once we got it, I was dude, we're good. Right now, we can do whatever we want. This is done. We're and so, but the thing saying we don't need that much content. So if you're stuck on set and you're feeling that dread, it's just you only need a little bit, right? And so you don't need to have, and it doesn't have to be perfect all the time, So I think that's one of the things that helps me get through things is just take a deep breath, maybe take 10 minutes, and then just get back to it because you only need a little bit.
Yeah,
I've taken 10 minutes before.
I think
absolutely.
I think it also helps because sometimes we'll go back and we'll watch our old intros when we're man, we have nothing funny we can say to start this video. How are we going to start it? And we'll go back and watch our old intros and we're oh, we have a lot of good old intros. And then I remember in that intro we thought we had nothing funny to say, and in that intro we thought we had nothing funny to say. So sometimes it's just reminding yourself that it'll get there. You'll be fine.
You're not a real YouTuber
question.
unless you've laid on the floor for 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
Preferably face down.
Yep, always.
Planking, old school planking.
Because it's the one thing you can't fall off of, and it's normal and safe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank
you so much.
All right. I'm really nervous because you guys are my 2 favorite channels to watch on YouTube, and I am
thanks for
genuine about
watching.
that. I have a question specifically for Safiya and Tyler. As you can see, I'm a cosplayer, and it's a big thing for me. You do a lot of style challenges, and I've always wondered, and now I have the opportunity to ask, would you ever be interested in trying to do some sort of cosplay content? Because I feel like that's right up your alley, and it seems like something that would be interesting.
I mean, it's something actually we are interested in. We have been interested in. It's more like timing the making of the thing with the con, so it's like a lot of logistics. And like since kind of international travel has opened up again, we've kind of been like trying to like go to different countries, like speed run them, like try and get that in because that urge has been so not available. But I think we have been interested and we are interested.
Cosplaying is really cool.
It's just like we're not that good at sewing, so we need to like find that good expert.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know
I
what
literally
mean?
safety pinned half of my things together. You're okay.
I mean, I know of some really cool makers that might be able to help out. I'm
Right.
not saying anything.
But we're also not good at sewing.
Yeah, I was about to say I've never seen them sew anything.
Dude, there are people that are really good at sewing too. They're like really good
we
at
know
sewing.
a couple sewers, but
We
like, it's
we
one of-
bought a sewing machine.
All right.
And
you
that's
go.
a step.
Hey.
It is really easy to fake being good at sewing. I will tell you that. I did it several times. You'll see it tomorrow. Actually, there. But
That's
sorry.
encouraging though. Yeah.
No, I think
yeah.
we're definitely. The answer is we're interested.
Yes.
But like it's the timing and the event and then the amount of prep for the event. So like it's one of those things that like a Renaissance fair. Super interested.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't really put it together yet. There's a long
Yes.
list of ideas.
All right. Thank you. Sorry for rambling.
You're
No,
just
no,
fine.
no.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for watching.
Hi.
What's up?
Hello.
Hi. So I do content creation, but in the corporate world. So specifically for academia, which is an environment that's kind of not really embracing all of this or social media in general. And I'm trying to kind of sell the idea of doing live and doing live streams and dipping my toe into that. So how did you guys start doing your lives? How did you decide, let's try this kind of new idea of live and live stream and live content? And how do you organize that? Like, just tell me a little about your process about live.
It's kind of technical, is what I would say, in terms of the softwares that you need to use. We got really lucky. We're like really good friends with the Theorists, and they have a great live streaming channel they've been doing forever. Like they're awesome, and they helped us out a lot by having one of their live stream producers come over and sort of like teach us the technology, the TriCaster, all that stuff. But there's a lot of really good YouTube content that teaches you how to use that stuff. So I think that's the first major hurdle, is that you have tech that works, that like makes you feel confident with your stream. Because once you have that, then like that was the first thing in terms of getting it started that I was very intimidated by. Like OBS or using a TriCaster or using the technology or using the right cameras and knowing how to go live, having a token. It's not super easy. So that's my first answer to that, is like that
Yeah.
hurdle.
So I think that for us, because right now our like live streaming is kind of on a pause. We started doing it because we had kind of been taking a hiatus from YouTube in general, and so we were kind of like wanting to come back and like kind of like get more practice being on camera almost.
Yeah.
And so it was great. It was a great way to kind of like flex that muscle and feel like regular and feel like you're kind of like, I'm back on the internet. We're doing it. And there is that close relationship that you develop with the viewers. I think for us, it was tough for us to balance because we were streaming for kind of like a longer form video for like an hour and a half. So for a lot of live streamers, they kind of have either they're gaming or they're kind of like chilling and like just chatting with the audience. And for us, we were trying to do more of like a structured live show kind of. And so it kind of created this dynamic where we were like having to do a thing and also be live, but also people were watching it after the fact, kind of consuming it like just a really long video. Yeah. And so people who were consuming like a really long video wanted to see us do the thing well, and people who were there live wanted us to hang out with them live.
It was kind of like a little bit of a battle we could sense a little bit between like the VOD watching audience and the live watching audience. So then you're like, you're in the chat too much, but then you're not in the chat enough. And then it was like, that was kind of creating an awkward tension that made a tricky format for us. So that's probably also because I jumped in to answer, like to say like, actually, I'm not sure that we're that good at live. So maybe they have better answers.
Was anyone really,
I'm sorry. I was just like, no, yeah, like the tech was weird. That was it.
Well, I think that for us, you can start on YouTube, you can start on live, and we really liked doing kind of both because we're pulling a lot into our live streams from YouTube, and then we pulled a lot from the live streams. It's a two-way street. One benefits the other, and they work really well together. And I think that specifically it's a lot easier to grow on YouTube than on live, like especially when you're starting out because of the algorithm is better. But I think the best advice for anyone is just start and you'll get better.
Thank
What
you.
he said. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you.
I have a very unrelated question for Evan and Katelyn.
Yeah.
What happened to the poop spray?
Okay.
I just need to know.
Okay.
We need to add context.
I'll give
We were asked about the poop spray.
I'll give a little
Okay.
context. We, a little while ago, filmed a video where we bought this is a very Safiya and Tyler-esque video.
Yeah.
We bought every candle scent we could and tried to make candles with all of those scents. And we threw in some wild cards, one of them being a poop spray. And after the video, we lost the spray and couldn't find it. We just moved into our house, couldn't find it for months. I was
scared.
I found it later in a drawer, and I pranked Evan with it by like putting it in with a bunch of our supplies when we were doing another candle video. And he tried to throw it away. I took it from the trash, and I will not say where the poop spray is because Evan is here, and he's just going to have to wait and find out where the poop spray shows up.
I live in fear every day.
So yeah.
It is here in Anaheim with us.
I
Look under your seat.
It's right here. You get a poop spray. You get a poop spray.
I have actually traveled with it multiple times without him knowing because I was like, maybe there's going to be a moment.
Maybe it's time.
Maybe it's time for the
to
poop
pop
spray.
the spray.
And to be
Not anymore.
Pop the spray.
and to be truthfully honest, the spray is horrible.
It is, yeah. It's
Horrible.
bad.
No.
Thank you.
Hi. So I have a couple questions. First of all, how are you guys doing?
Woo!
Good. How are
Yeah.
you?
Great day.
I'm doing good. I'm kind of freaking out because this is like dream come true. Second thing, how did you guys start YouTube? Like, how did you know that it was like what you wanted to do full time?
You want to go first?
I don't know if we have a
I don't know
very
if we have a killer answer. I think that
Yeah.
there was actually, well, obviously, like, I used to work at BuzzFeed many moons ago, almost like 8 years ago.
Yeah,
now, 8
long
years
time,
ago.
yeah.
But before I took that job, there was a moment where you were working on like a tech platform, and I was in LA with no job, and I had basically interviewed at two places. One
Yeah.
was BuzzFeed, and one was United Talent Agency (UTA), which is like a traditional agency, for like movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And I got two offers. One was to work at BuzzFeed, and the other one was to work at this place, which is kind of like a way to kind of get in, like, on the production side of TV. And we had talked about it, and we were like, if we want to be creative, we should take the BuzzFeed job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like if you take the job at UTA, you're always going to be not the creative. You have to do this job and get some experience, and then you have like the fork in the road, like really cleanly.
Yeah.
So, and then you left BuzzFeed, and then we started working more together. But we had done videos there together, and making videos was kind of fun. And then when we started doing it by ourselves, like it was, you have like even more creative opposability, and you get to do these things. So then that's kind of how we fell into it.
Yeah,
But
so I think that, long story short, the reason that we ended up on YouTube is because we wanted to stay on that creative side.
Yes.
Yeah, we wanted to be making the things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that was really important to us.
yeah.
I think for us, there was a moment where I was at my engineering job, and I realized the career path in front of me wasn't something that I wanted. And I was at work, and I had a little bit of a panic attack, and I was like, And the big driving factor is I wanted to spend more time with Katelyn. We realized that the majority of our lives is spent at work
Not with each other.
and not with each other. And we're like, how do we change that? And I think, honestly, it might have been Fixer Upper. That on HGTV, we're like, hey, we could do that.
Yeah. At the
could do
time,
that.
There's no justification for the confidence.
Yeah, at the time we had like a blog that we would update as we were fixing up our house. And so we were like, well, on TV there's videos about people fixing up their house and making stuff like Fixer Upper. They're a married couple doing this. Why can't we do it on YouTube? Because this blog thing certainly isn't getting much attention. And so if it's on YouTube, maybe it'll do better, and we could do it as a job.
Yeah.
We were just blindly confident for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, and also I think that like when we approached it, because we had all this experience working these jobs in more corporate settings, we approached it with a business plan, with a launch plan, and thankfully it worked kind of right out of the gate, and
I mean.
slow, but it was
did
going.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, and then one last thing. You guys inspired me to make props, so
Oh, yay.
I have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for you guys. You have no idea.
Oh,
Sweet.
that's so cool.
Thanks for
It looks so
coming
good.
Thank you so much.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
super cool.
Hello, this is for Safiya and Tyler. Hi.
Hey.
So my cat loves the blanket that you made. Like he literally stole it from me. And my
Yeah.
question is, have you considered making pet merch? Because I would buy that for my cat.
Yeah. Pet merch.
Pet merch.
Honestly, it's not a bad idea. The thing is, so obviously, maybe if you guys know our channel, you know that we used to have a really, really, really old cat named Krusty. And we were always nervous. We have one shirt that we launched that had him on it.
Yeah.
But we were always nervous because he was old when we found him to like do stuff. Like we never got him an Instagram or anything because we
Yeah.
were like, this cat could kick the bucket any day. And eventually he did.
Right.
Eventually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now that we have a youth, maybe it's time, you
You
know?
could be a model.
Yeah. And he's a total mimbo.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's
You say
cute.
mimbo?
Mimbo, yeah. He's like, he's hot, but
Himbo.
he's got nothing going on. I mean,
He's
he's
got
just like,
nothing
he
going
runs
on
around,
upstairs.
you know? He's,
Yeah. Cat merch.
He's difficult to wrangle, but once he's on camera, he sort of basks in it, and it's obnoxious.
Yeah.
It was meant
but
to be.
Listen, to answer your question, no, we have not really thought about cat merch, but you brought it
it's
up.
not a bad idea.
It's a good idea.
We'll think about
You
it.
know, actually, Evan and Katelyn do like a lot of really interesting stuff with their cat. They have like a lot of like weird things that like drives it around and controls it. So I mean, there's something there. But yeah, Sop's right. I mean, like when we had Crust, he was just so old. We're like, dude, we can't give him an Instagram account. That's gonna be traumatizing, right? So and as Sop said, he just lingered. Like to the surprise of the vets.
Yeah.
You know, actually, we had like a vet the other day, and like someone came up who was his vet tech really late in the stage, and she was like, "Yeah, your cat just kept going," and everyone was just like cheering for Krusty to keep going. Then I called them and I was like, "Yo, Krusty," like because they were like, "We took him home," and they're like, "Yeah, he's like not gonna make it. You got to bring him back in like 4 hours." We're like, "Oh yeah, okay, this is rough," you know. And then I called them back. I'm like, "Yo, we're keeping him because he's good," and he lingered for another like month and a half. It was great, you know.
Oh my god.
But Cosmo's young, and he's excited.
Although
So
Cosmo still could achieve a Darwin Award. He's pretty stupid.
yeah, he's
We're really nervous.
That
We
was
were-
our
the
first thing.
We actually waited to introduce him to the internet for like 3 months because the first night we had him, he like ate one of his toys completely, and we had to take him to the vet to throw it up.
Like the first
like,
day, because it was like way
Can
bigger
you
than
try
him.
to live?
Yeah, no, yeah. It's
Can
like
you try at least a little?
No, he's not good with that. He's totally insane. And I literally the first night we had him, he like just gnawed on my big toe all night, and I almost went up to stop, and I was like, dude, I don't know like what we're gonna do with this cat. I don't know what we're gonna do with him. He's too crazy. And he didn't show when we adopted him. He didn't show any of those signs. He was like so calm and easygoing.
And then
And the
as soon as he
second we
got
got him home, I was like, and I started just filming him and sending it to our friends. I was like, dude, look, we got a new cat, and he's like falling off the couch and like rolling around and stuff like that. So that's a lot of Cosmo content. I'm sorry, Cosmo's cool, but he's our cat if you don't know who he is.
Y'all gotta make a cat obstacle course for him. Get out the energy. Turn an entire room into like a cat obstacle course.
Like one of those Rube Goldberg machines, but it's just a
Yeah.
cat.
Well, so we just got this thing we're excited about. We got like this big warehouse that we were turning into our like new studio, and we're like super excited about it. But my first instinct was to make Tube City.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just to make like a giant like hamster thing for like.
Yeah.
Oh, and we could do it with Cosmo too. But like it's just like a giant thing, 10,000 square feet, Tube City.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Evan would like this idea. What about like the longest Hot Wheels track ever? We
Yeah,
were thinking
I was.
about
Yeah,
that.
are you interested in that? Because we don't have sets there yet, but we do have a mezzanine that we can like launch a car down.
Like a
Yeah.
Hot Wheels
Or
car.
Tube City, if you're down for Tube City. I'm
Both?
down with that.
Why not
Tube
both?
City.
Why not both? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so that could be coming out.
In like
Maybe.
2 years.
Thank you for the stories.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
to
you
see
so
you.
much. Well, this has been illuminating. This has been fantastic. I've learned a ton. I hope you guys have learned a ton as well. And we ran out of audience questions at like literally exactly the right time. We're like 1 minute over time. So thank you so much for coming out here and listening today. Please give a round of applause for our amazing panelists. They've been fantastic.
And thank you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Please enjoy the rest of VidCon, and we hope to see you around sometime. I think you guys have a meet and greet coming up pretty soon.
We do.
You
They
do.
already did theirs.
You
We
did
did
yours,
ours.
and you've got one coming
We
up.
did
So
ours.
if you
It
want to
was
come
fun.
meet them, then go find their meet and greet. And other than that, please enjoy the rest of VidCon. Have an awesome rest of your day. We'll see you later on. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.